This one's probably the most personal video that I've done, and not to be weird, but like while I was kind of drafting some of the scripting on this one, I kind of got a little like weepy in different parts. So I'm gonna apologize in advance if that happens again. And I'll tell you, if you're an entrepreneur and you're a parent, and especially if you're a husband and a father, I wanna save you from making the mistakes that I made. In this video, I'm gonna share the 7 rules that I follow as a dad and as an entrepreneur, the specific stuff, the tactical stuff that I wish I had known that would have saved me years of pain and regret. Now, if you don't know me, my name is Ryan Deiss. I built, scaled, and sold multiple 8-figure businesses from scratch, but I had to learn the hard way that winning in business really doesn't matter if you're failing at home. I should say, by the way, at the outset that you probably won't agree with everything I'm gonna say, and I'm sure I'm gonna catch more than my fair share of hate in the comments for a few of these tips, but these have worked for me, and I hope and I think that they're gonna work for you too. All right, rule number 1, define your default settings. Are you family first or are you work first? Now, I want to take you back to 2016. That was the year that I had 3 companies simultaneously on the Inc. 500 and 5,000 lists. And from the outside, it just looked like I was crushing it. Now, inside, I was absolutely failing and I was absolutely miserable. And I was failing kind of in every way that you could fail inside a house. I was failing as a husband. I was failing as a father. I was missing soccer games, dance recitals, you name it, I pretty much wasn't there. And one night, everything kind of came to a head. I came home late again, and I remember walking into my bedroom and my wife was sitting up in bed and it was clear that she'd been crying. There's one thing that she said to me that I will never forget. She just looked at me and she said, look, you can keep doing what you're doing, but you can't pretend like you're doing it for us anymore. It just absolutely cut me to the core. And what hurt the most is I knew she was right. My calendar would tell you the truth. I mean, I had blocked out every single meeting, every single event, every single client session, but I had blocked out no time whatsoever for my family. My default setting was work. It didn't matter if it was a weekday or a weekend. It didn't matter if it was 11 a.m. or 7 p.m. And the thing about work is that it will always expand to fill the time allowed. And I had allowed it to fill all of my time because I was operating under the false belief that I had to work just to keep this business afloat. In reality, work was merely my default setting. So I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like everything got perfect the next day, but there was one big change that I made that really did make an impact that day. At 5:30 p.m. every day, I added a 30-minute meeting to my calendar that just said, workday shutdown. That gave me the time to finish whatever I was doing, pack up and make it home by 6:30 at the latest. That one simple change made sure that I got my work done in the time allowed, and guess what? I was every bit as productive as I was when I was working until midnight. Another default that I changed was vacation time. We were basically taking no vacations as a family. Now, every year between Christmas and New Year, my wife and I get together and we plan our calendar. Before a single business trip or event gets scheduled, we block family time. We block out when we're gonna go on our 30-day family summer vacation. We block out 2 week-long trips for just the 2 of us. We block out first, when is the family going to do family stuff? And my default setting extended beyond the calendar. It also extended to how I answer certain questions. For example, if somebody asks for a meeting, my default setting is no, unless they send over a write-up of what they want to discuss, and we attempt to work through it asynchronously. But I think my favorite default was installed a couple of years ago, just before my oldest left for college. That year, I created a default setting where anytime he asked if I could play golf, the answer would be yes. I knew that our time together was running out. I knew that he was going to be leaving, he was going to be going off to college, and I wasn't going to see him as much. And one of my favorite things in the world was when we'd get to go out and play golf together. And for too many years, he'd ask, could we play golf? And I was like, oh, buddy, I can't. I'm too busy this weekend. I wanted to squeeze every minute out of every day that I could get with this kid before he did it. So I made sure. And there were times when I missed meetings and project deadlines slipped. But you know what? The world just kept right on spinning. And when we dropped him off at college and drove away, I'll tell you, I cried like a baby. But I didn't have any regrets about the time that we got to spend together that year. So if your calendar doesn't reflect your priorities, I'm sorry, but they're not your priorities. Go block out a family vacation. Block out a date night. You don't even have to know where you're going or what you're gonna do. Just block something out on the calendar. Block first, fill it in later. It's that simple. Rule number 2, let your kids see the good life, but make sure they know what it took to get there. Holy crap, I'm probably gonna get some hate for this one. All right, here's the deal. If you're fortunate enough to succeed in business and make some money, your kids are eventually going to notice. This is not going to be a big problem when they are young. When they're little, they have no clue what's going on whatsoever. But eventually, when they start to get older, they're going to see that their friends' houses are a little bit smaller. They're going to realize that you take more vacations. You go out to eat more, right? They're going to start to notice and they're going to start to ask questions. Now, how much of that you choose to expose them to is really a personal decision. I can tell you, for my family, we chose not to live in the biggest, flashiest neighborhood in our area. We chose to live near our kids' school and near their friends, even though it's further from, frankly, the golf course community that I would love to live in. And yes, that stings a little bit. But that said, we do still splurge, right? So when we go on vacation, we stay in really nice places. And when we go to theme parks like Disney World, we do that private VIP thing where you have a personal guide who lets you skip the line so you can ride Guardians of the Galaxy 5 times in a row if you want. But we're intentional, and I'm gonna encourage you to be intentional too. We splurge on memories, not ego. And we make sure that our kids understand that this lifestyle, it's not normal, and it's not guaranteed, and it sure as heck isn't free. I think it's important that we remember that success is a gift, it's a blessing, and it's something that you should let your kids enjoy, but never let them feel entitled to it. I can tell you, just as a tactical example, when my kids got their first car, it was a hand-me-down. When my wife and I travel alone, we fly first class. Sometimes we fly private. But when the kids are with us, they sit back and coach. They always have. I remember one trip, my oldest looked at me and said, "Hey, why don't we get to sit up there with you in first class?" And I remember turning to him and looking at him and saying, "Son, your mom and I do very, very well. But you and your brother and your sisters, you're poor. That's why you sit back there. You're lucky we bring you along at all." Now, just for what it's worth, before anybody freaks out, we didn't just abandon our kids on airplanes. When they were young, we all sat back and coached together, and it was just fine. If you're building wealth, let your kids see what it provides, but also tell them what's behind it. Tell them about the hard work. Tell them about taking risks. Tell them about the customers and the clients that you have served well. Rule number 3, never let your kids quit on a bad day. So a number of years ago, I got the chance to have lunch with Sarah Blakely, who's the founder of Spanx. And at one point, the conversation turned to parenting. She said she'd come home really frustrated about something, and her dad would say, and she'd be like, "I want to quit." And her dad would say, "Okay, you can quit if you want, but not on a bad day. You can only quit on a good day." And I remember hearing that advice, and it just hit me like a brick. This was advice that I was going to teach to my kids, and I always have, and it's one of those things that they've talked about that they remember, because what it really teaches beyond resilience is discernment. It teaches you to pause, to not let a single hard moment hijack your judgment. And I've used that exact rule with my own kids. When my daughter wanted to quit the dance team because she didn't get the role that she wanted. Even when they wanted to quit a friend group after some middle school drama explosion. Now, here's what happened. Sometimes they stuck it out. Sometimes they went through with the quitting. But in every case, they paused. They made the decision intentionally, and they never once regretted the decision that they made. The lesson is that resilience is a muscle, and decision-making is something that can be learned. And I'll tell you, the best entrepreneurs, the best founders that I know, they're not just hard workers, they're not just resilient, they're great decision makers. Rule number 4, learn to enjoy the hard moments. Kind of embarrassing to admit, but the other morning I was rushing my youngest out the door for school, and he comes down, and he's literally coming down, he's swinging this like foam axe around like an absolute maniac, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, kid, you're gonna kill me. Like, just put on your shoes. And parents, I know you know exactly what I'm talking about. And I was getting kind of frustrated with him, and then it hit me. There's gonna come a day when he doesn't bring a foam axe downstairs because he's just gonna be too cool for it. And I've seen it happen with all my older kids. That phase is gonna be gone. Parenting is full of phases, and you're gonna miss it if you rush through them. So I just will tell you, when you feel frustrated at something, I want you just to pause and take a mental snapshot and ask yourself, what about this will I maybe miss someday? Those of you parents who are getting woken up in the middle of the night by a screaming child, believe it or not, there are aspects of that you will miss someday. Rule number 5, don't outsource love, show it daily. One of the things that we're good as business owners is delegation, something we're taught all the time. This is not something to be delegated. I remember when I was a kid, my parents got divorced when I was a toddler. I literally have no memory of them together at all. Now, this could be a very, very sad story, but the truth is, I had an insanely happy childhood, and I had it for one simple reason. I never wondered if I was loved. Sure, we didn't have a lot of money. I didn't always get the coolest, presents for Christmas and things like that. It wasn't always, fun having to pack up all my stuff and, effectively move every couple of weeks from one parent's house to another because they had joint custody. But wherever I was, I knew I was loved because both my parents told me, and they told me constantly. Just because you're the quote unquote provider, that doesn't mean that you get to opt out of nurturer duties too. So tell your kids that you love them, and tell them every day. Your kids don't need perfect parents. They just need to know that they're loved. And you know what? While you're at it, send them annoying notes and texts while they're at school and you're at work. Let them know that you're thinking about them and that they are more important than business. And if you need to, just create a calendar reminder. They're gonna act like they're annoyed, but deep down inside, they'll love it. Rule number 6, build traditions that scale with age. So I mentioned this before, but every summer my family takes a 30-day trip together. This is one of those things that we sort of institutionalized back in 2016 when my wife, again, called me on the fact that my priorities were out of line. This was one of those things, one of those default settings that we applied. And it's been amazing. We've done Europe multiple times. We've done national parks. We've done beach vacations, road trips, you name it. Sometimes, frankly, when business hasn't been as good, it's been a little bit, more lean. It's not always easy. I mean, there have been plenty of times when I've thought leading up to this vacation, I really can't afford to take this much time off. There is way too much going on. But then I ask, what's the point of building a business if I can't spend time with the people I'm supposed to be building it for? What traditions do you want to normalize? It doesn't have to be something as elaborate as a 30-day summer vacation. It could be something as simple as Saturday morning pancake breakfasts or Friday pizza and movie night. What matters is that it scales with age and that it has the power to bind your family together, not just now, but through the generations. Rule number 7, don't force your kids to be entrepreneurs like you. All right, a lot of you are probably going to hate what I'm about to say, but here goes. I get asked all the time, Ryan, how can I raise my kid to be an entrepreneur like you? And my honest response is, first, I'm not sure you can. Second, I'm not even sure that you should. Look, as a father of 4 and as someone who's been in this game for decades, I get why parents ask this question. I mean, sometimes it's entrepreneurs hoping that they can pass the torch, hoping that their kids are gonna be just like them. Other times it's well-meaning parents who wish that they had taken that leap themselves, and now they're trying to will that dream onto their kids. But here's the thing, I don't wish entrepreneurship on anyone, because entrepreneurship isn't a job, it's a calling. And frankly, given all the wonderful career paths out there, it's kind of nuts to choose this path unless you feel called to it. You don't choose entrepreneurship, entrepreneurship chooses you. If and only if this path chooses one of my kids, here's how I will respond. Number 1, I'm gonna encourage them. Too many would-be founders are talked out of their calling by well-intentioned friends and family members. That will not happen on my watch. Number 2, I'm gonna hold them accountable, right? If they say that they're gonna do something, then I'm gonna remind them of it regularly. And I'm gonna treat them like I would treat a peer, because guess what? They are one. Number 3, I'm going to offer them advice, but only when asked for it. I firmly believe that doing is the primary mode of learning for entrepreneurs. Talking is secondary, so yep, I will talk to them, but only when they start the conversation. If there's definitely one thing that I've learned, it's that if I try to tell my kids anything, they're not listening, but they do listen if they start the conversation. Number 4, I'll give them a loan with interest and only if they have proof of concept. I do believe that the quickest way to snuff out any entrepreneurial flame is to over-oxygenate it with unearned cash and praise. So if my kids have a good thing going, fine. But am I just gonna write them a big fat check to go set it on fire? Heck no. They're gonna have the exact same start that I got, which was a big fat nothing. And number 5, I'm gonna watch them fail, and then I'm gonna pick them up. I truly believe that failure is the best teacher, and I believe it's unavoidable. Failure is what builds us. It builds scar tissue. God forgive me if I deprive them of that, but I'm still their dad. So you better believe that I'm gonna be there to pick them up. Look, at the end of the day, my goal is not to raise entrepreneurs. My goal is to raise amazing, resilient, kind adults who make the world better than they found it. And as for their vocation in life, it really is truly up to them. If that's being an entrepreneur, amazing. If that's teacher or a pastor, or an artist or a plumber or a mom or whatever vocation our kids will enjoy that frankly likely hasn't even been invented yet, I'm absolutely thrilled as long as it aligns their gifts with the needs of this world. Look, at the end of the day, if your kids never wonder if they were loved, you win. Okay, you win. You won life. It doesn't matter what happened in business. Everything else in this life is extra. If you like this, if you found it helpful, drop a comment. I'd love to know the tip that you needed most. And if you want more videos like this is not what I normally do. So if this is the first video that you've ever watched on my channel, this is not a parenting channel. Either way, hopefully I'll see you in the next video. All right. Thanks, y'all. I didn't cry. Almost did once, but I didn't.